Welcome to Too Many Games, where the more you play, the more you win. I'm your host, Chuck. With me, as always, is Travis.
Hello. It's me.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, we're ready to go. We're rip roaring. We were actually talking right before we started recording, and I'm like, we should just start, right? Like we're just doing the show. So
I mean, I like to have some B-roll stuff for the Patreon subscribers, which, by the way, subscribe to our Patreon for extended versions of these podcasts. And so I like to have a little B-roll before the show starts. And I had other plans for a general topic today.
Right. Well, then we were just kind of chatting. It's been a little bit just because of this is a great plug for.
Well, between like work-life balance and if anybody's listening, they'll see that I uploaded a movie review with my sister for Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. It's a monster of a review. It's 3.5 hours, but we not only go over the movie, we do some behind the scenes. We compare and contrast it to like the various game scenes and all the things that were changed to make it to the movie and why the movie was terrible. And it was terrible. And I can't believe I watched it like 7 times in the last couple of months just to get all the details right. Dear God, man. Why did I watch it so much? Anyway. So it'll be irregular, but there will be more movie reviews coming up. We're labeling them as video booze. So it's like, because addiction to movie cinema while we're drinking and having a good time. I don't drink. My sister drinks.
Beautifully said. We're talking Shredder's Revenge, the new Ninja Turtles game just came out. That one. Yeah. Oh yeah, that one. You played it with me actually.
Yeah. So, real quick on my side is the I bought it when it came out. I told Travis, you need to buy this so we could play it. So he bought it and we played it. It was a whole hell of a lot of fun.
It was ridiculously fun.
And I got my own views and stuff, but this is your spotlight right now. This is your game to talk about. So I'm going to stop talking eventually.
So no, exactly what you said. So first off, there's so many. First off, it's a great game, super fucking fun game. Couldn't say enough about how ridiculously fun this game ended up being. It's a short in the sense that it's an arcade-based game, so it's kind of supposed to be short. But we played it together and completely smashed through it the very first night, knowing that it's meant to be beaten like that. I mean, if you didn't just sit down and play through the entire thing like we did, because we obviously opt to spend a lot of time playing video games, but
and this is designed to be like those Super Nintendo games and Genesis games, and those were ports of arcade versions, and the arcade versions were meant to be like, dump your quarters into me for 3 hours and you'll beat it, so it's like a little pocket game.
Right, which was awesome. Like that's exactly what I was looking for whenever I heard that game was coming out. We talked about it a little bit.
Oh, real quick, I just want to point out, I just saw this and it kind of annoys me. I don't know if I'll keep this for the show. This is like, I'm telling you right now because of the footage that I'm sharing to you. It's the newscast. All of the letters are capitalized except this I on view. It says Vernon's views, but the I is lowercase. And I've seen it and now I can't unsee it, and now I'm pissed off. Proceed.
I'm sorry. I see it too. I get it, but the whole game's trash.
They did it again. It changed to live footage, and the eye is still Is this like an inside joke or something for the cartoon? Because now I'm just like, why are you guys doing this to me?
Terrible game. I take it all back. um so no, super fun game. It's definitely like a button masher, beat 'em up. There's all the classics. So I don't know if I should like start from the beginning and explain everything about Ninja Turtles, which seems kind of silly because, you know, obviously Ninja Turtles, they're mutated turtles that were introduced to some ooze that transformed them into anthropomorphic beings that were raised in the sewers of New York.
I don't think you need to go that far. Probably just stick to what's in the game. I'm pretty sure the turtles are kind of a universal property at this point.
That's what I was thinking.
It's kind of like talking about Simpsons. Nobody needs a backstory on the Simpsons. We all know who it is.
The Simpsons already did it, man. Simpsons did it. They already did. So yeah, anthropomorphic turtles live in the sewer. Rat raises them, teaches them karate. The premise rules. So originally, like, the comic was kind of made as like a, you know, like a sarcastic kind of thing. Like, look, this is ridiculous.
It's like dark humor in a way, because it's pretty graphic too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So the game itself is modeled after, you know, like the cartoon version, which is the game itself is modeled after the arcade version, or like not the arcade version necessarily, but the Super Nintendo Turtles in Time game, which is the same kind of arcade brawler beat 'em up. And they share a lot of similarities as far as, like, you know, your choice between the four turtles, although they do have the addition of 3 new characters, one being April O'Neil, the sassy young reporter that joins the turtles on their adventures. You get Splinter, their sensei, the teacher, but not necessarily the leader, because we'll get to that. That's my man Leonardo. That's the dude. And then you have one of the more interesting side characters, but don't tell him that, Casey Jones. Casey motherfucking Jones.
He's the main character, dude. What are you talking about? He's the leader. Everybody follows him.
Casey Jones. Yeah.
Right. I just real quick wanted to point out, this is based off the like 80s 90s cartoon. Nothing, not like the thing that's currently running on Nickelodeon or the Fox Kids stuff. This was like old school Turtles nostalgia time.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
And I mean, I know this is like the game for like you're talking about and stuff. So if my interruptions annoy the hell out of you, mention it. But I'm like super excited to also mention things in this game because it was so fun.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like you also played the game side by side, and I mentioned that a couple times. So feel free whenever something comes in. You're just helping me do it. It's not like the objective is to just have a really good review, not to like spotlight how good I review it, because I could use all the help I could get, honestly. No, no, the cartoon is exactly what we're talking about. And again, I think it's just going to be like just general, try not to be just general turtle time, but that's what a lot of it's turning into. There's a point whenever I was a kid and I would watch the Ninja Turtle show and I would hear that intro with the do, like it would get me so hyped up. I would just be like running around, jumping off of furniture and shit. I had fucking all the toys. I had the turtle van. I remember VHS recordings of the concert that the Ninja Turtles did. Like the you know, super foam costume turtles.
I mean, this is like not game related, this is turtles related and stuff, but I don't know how old our listeners are, but you have to realize when we were kids, you didn't have like the box sets of all the turtles. You didn't have a place where you could watch the entire series of Ninja Turtles. You
had to watch it on
reruns.
TV.
You got reruns at best. You got maybe new episodes on Saturdays, or you could buy like VHS or DVDs and then have like 2 or 3 episodes on it. and that's all you get. So it's not like, oh, this is all of season 1 and stuff. It'd be like an episode of season 2 and an episode of season 4, you know?
Oh yeah, no,
they I watched those to death.
So. Definitely. Even just thinking about the covers of those VHS, man, if you could just go back and keep some of those things and preserve them really well. And like, I don't want to sound greedy doing that or saying that, like, you know, a lot of it would be preserved for my own benefit because I liked it. But it took me so long to find them, but there were these little bitty plastic toys that were like anthropomorphic warriors, like, and each one, they had little holographic stickers on them, and each one had a different element. And it, like, you know, there's like a rhino with armor on, and one of his arms or one of his hands was like a ball with the spikes on it, and then another guy would have like a chainsaw hand or something. Like, that was so fucking cool. Like, those toys were bad ass, and I would kill for like a big set of them. I think I found them online before. I just don't think I had any money at the time. So now that I've recovered that memory,
time to buy a bunch of turtle stuff. It's like the Warhammer figurines. You know?
Right. No, they made Ninja Turtle. They made a secret lair for Ninja Turtles for Magic the Gathering.
Okay.
They had turtles, yeah. And they also have like some Easter egg cards. Like, there's whatever. We're getting so far.
Anyway,
I'm gonna
get
circle
back
to it real fast. Again, it's like freeform anyway, so like, fucking this whole episode has just been us just riffing on whatever. We've gotten far off the beaten path. So the game itself, while I thought that there was a lot of really funny, dumb moments, and that's kind of like the mood of the game. So you get, you know, each different character that has their own pros and cons, except like Casey Jones, who's slightly overpowered just because he's unlocked after you beat the game.
Yeah.
So like, he definitely, you know, he's your reward for beating the game. Then you go back through, play the game, and you get, you know, you're gonna be Casey Jones, beat the shit out of everybody. It's great. But the first time I played through was with Chuck. He was playing Casey Jones and I was playing Splinter, right? Because first off, I've played Turtles in Time. Like, I on the Super Nintendo, I played it like to death. I can remember most of like the attack animations and how Leonardo would like dive forward and put his swords behind his back, like, and create like a V behind him, and it looked ridiculous. Oh man. It was great. I want to actually watch footage of it now, but yeah. Well, no, actually, I said footage of it. That's great. Anyways, so the difficulty itself wasn't like that. That wasn't really the point. And wow, now that I'm watching Michelangelo, I should have played that motherfucker. He's wild as hell.
My first time through was as Michelangelo, and then after beating the game, I that was when I messaged you. I was like, dude, you have to get this game. You have to get this game. But yeah, Mikey was always my favorite, mostly because, you know, he's the humor, the comedy relief, you know.
Humor funny, man. No, can you back the video up a little bit? Isn't that the part where the fucking guy steals the engine?
Where is it? Oh, I went too far.
Yeah, it was like
not far enough.
So little right after this. So anyways, I know that we're talking about a video that obviously listeners can't see, but that's a great power thing. There's a part in the game, right, where it's like one of the first episodes, or one of the episodes, one of the first levels.
It's the second level. Yeah,
I got you. So the second
level, they're labeled as episode 1, 2, 3, you know.
Right. So there's this part. It's great. There's this part where all these foot soldiers show up, and in the 80s cartoon, the foot soldiers are very specifically robots and not people. And so there's like live action ones where they're people, and there's different iterations where they're people and not robots. But Oh, that was a slick ass move. Anyway, so there's this really brief part in the second level where a bunch of so, and given these are robots, so like they don't really have like, you know, what them having a personality seems ridiculous. So there needs to be like some kind of context for how silly this is. But like 3 foot soldiers, Foot Clan guys jump out and try to beat you up. And the third one's like rummaging around in a car with its hood open. And as soon as you show up, he just rips the engine out and then runs the opposite direction and he's gone.
He just
That's it. He
sprints
just
off screen with the engine block above his head.
yeah, he just straight up steals it. And in the moment, that was so fucking hilarious that he just straight up, you know, it was like, wait, did he really just do that? It's like, yeah, he really just did that. He just fucking stole the engine. But the that plays into what I think is kind of the theme, like not even really the theme, but like an underlying theme is some of the comedy, right? So like
Yeah.
this is the second level, and some of the enemies have axes, right?
Yeah.
They have axes, but they're also like the quote unquote like heavy enemies. So they sit there and like charge up their attacks for a second, and you can't like stagger them, right? So that's the point. That's why they have axes. And then there's other ones that just throw uh the fucking tire irons at you. Tire irons, that's it. And the robot. So like a robot that just like has is just rolling with the tire iron. And
Oh, he doesn't just throw a tire iron at you. He boomerangs that fucker.
Oh yeah, no, it comes back. It's insane. It's insane. What was some of the more ridiculous ones? Some of them had plungers or something. Oh, plunger crossbows. Yeah. They had not like
in the first level, you're going through the fucking what are they called? The like TV station, and there's like sets that are built up. So there's like a cooking set, and one of them has like a little chef hat and like attacks you with a wooden spoon.
Yeah, a wooden spoon. Which I mean, that's funny. It's also, you know, it's like the first episode, which was kind of keep fucking saying it's stuck now, dude. It's the first fucking level or whatever. The crossbow plunger ones are like the 7th or something. They show up with some of the robots have swords, and some of them have crossbows with plungers on the end. I think it would take more effort to put a plunger on the end and do less damage than just not putting a plunger on the end.
Oh, but the best part about those ones are they come on screen, they shoot their plunger, and then they get the fuck out. They don't like stay on screen. They don't wait for you to beat the shit out of them. They're like, I have one thing to do. I did it. I'm out. Yep. Later.
I blasted my plunger. I'm out of here.
I gotta go down to the hardware store, get a new plunger.
So the whole tone of it is kind of goofy. They did a really good like homage to the original game, which I think appealed to a lot of people. They also did things like modernize it, right? So like your health works in a better way where you have more of it, but you also kind of like, you know, not everyone does 1 point of damage. Some things do more than 1 point of damage, and you have like, you know, a lot of health, but then that means like some things you can afford to be hit by, and other things you really have to pay attention. And so there is some difficulty in that sense, but it's not made to really be a difficult game. There's just certain mechanics, like, you know, the hoverboard thing. You have to at least pay attention and not eat too much shit dodging all the stuff. They also have a lot.
Well, like another modernization is that in like you have 2 modes. You have the arcade mode, which is kind of like the old school style where it's just going from level to level in one sitting. But you also have story mode, which has like a big like little cartoony overworld and stuff, which is really nice. And so you can kind of like go around, pick your own level at will. Yeah. And all of the characters, they have levels. Every character can level up to 10. So each level you're getting like either a health point or super meter, you know. So those are like modernizations of this style.
Right, that's just what I was getting to. I was just going to mention the combos, like not only the combos, like the special moves, right? So there's like different moves you can do, like sliding attacks and jumping attacks, and just Okay, so again, shit like this. They have robots on hoverboards, but they give them wrenches, and then they try to kick you instead of using their wrenches. Like they're just backup wrenches. They're just in case they're like maybe they're shitty hoverboards, and so they have to make sure they can fix them at will on the fly. There's gotta look at
But see, it's ancient ninja technique. You
what
bring the wrench, so everyone expects you to attack with wrench, and then they get foot to face.
and then you kick them. So what ancient ninja technique are the robots in flying machine jetpacks with machine guns?
Not all techniques need to be ancient. Sometimes you can like do some modern stuff.
Modern ninja hover pack machine gun technique. I like that.
Ancient peoples didn't have hover technology. You got to adapt with the times, man.
Actually, I think okay. So to be technical, I think ancient people only had hover technology. You know what I mean? Like they only had like I don't know, falling slowly and blimps, dirigibles. Yeah, not dirigibles. What am I thinking of? Air balloons.
Yeah.
Wait, when were air balloons? I don't actually think that's totally wrong because air balloons were not in. But yeah, that required a lot of other things.
They were like mid 1800s, I believe.
Yeah.
So.
No, you're right. I'm just bullshitting. All in all, the game was really fun. Since we played it 2-player, I don't know if that like affected the difficulty. Like I don't know if that made things have more health or whatever.
No.
Yeah, I figured it just was easier.
Everything's just its own thing. This game has 6-player co-op.
Oh God.
You could have 6 people on screen at once blowing all their shit and stuff, and things die like as if it was a blender.
Yeah, I mean it kind of makes sense if there were 6 turtles or 4 turtles. Yeah, if there's all those motherfuckers going crazy. So that's one of the things I don't I want to say I don't like, but we also used it a lot just because it was easy and kind of fun. But there's a way that takes like, I don't know, half of a second of not moving where you power up like your special move and you can do it.
Yeah, it's like a little taunt that refills your special.
Yeah. And so you can do it indefinitely. And as you level up, you get 3 stacks of that. And then if you have 3 stacks of it and you activate it, you get like super mode, but I don't think you're invincible. You just like do more damage. I don't know.
It's probably just like more damage and like probably like damage resistant. So instead of like no, because I was staggered during it. So I think it was like, enemies that would do like 3 damage now only do 1 damage kind of thing. Anyways, it was completely useless compared to the other specials.
Yeah, just using the special 3 times. It's like way cooler. But that's the one thing that was kind of goofy about it is like, well, it's a little abusable with just 2 of us. So I can imagine having 3 or more. It'd just be like,
I just want to point out on boss fights, I'm sitting there like hitting melee and stuff because the boss is right on my ass. And there's Travis up in the corner doing like Splinter's taunt is to meditate. So he's just sitting there meditating for like 5 minutes to get his supercharge. Then he comes out, does his supercharge, then goes, hides in the corner again. All the while, the boss is solely focused on me. And it's like, I want to charge too.
Hey, I don't know what to say, man. I don't know how to describe the technique of being a coward in video games.
This isn't spoilers. The final boss is Super Shredder.
Like of course
it's always Super Shredder. Anyway, there's a point where it like middle of the combat, he puts like an invisible bubble around himself and he summons like these little purple clones of him. And you're supposed to, it's like 2 on each side of him. You're supposed to destroy the clones to disable the shield. They're up. I'm like trying to hit them while avoiding like missile attacks and shit. And I'm like, Travis, you got to hit the 2 on your side. It's like, hold on, I'm charging. And so he's just sitting there meditating while I'm like dodging all these fireballs and shit. It's like, just hit your clones, god damn it.
Hey, it made it fun, wasn't it? You're welcome.
Oh, it was a hell of a lot of fun. Yes.
But no, it was also one of those things where it was a tactical decision, right? If the boss is going after you, of course I'm going to charge. I get a little charge off. That's how we're doing our damage.
Yes, tactics. Yes.
You're just
ancient ninja technique.
Exactly. You were not to change the subject, but the guys with, wait, that robot was sleeping.
Yeah.
He was pretending to sleep. He was lollygagging. But
Ancient
they,
ninja technique.
they
I'm just gonna
gave
keep saying that anytime there's a question about what they're doing. Ancient ninja
a
technique.
wizard did it. That was it.
Yeah.
No, so these ones, I mean, I don't want to say they're smart because they're robots. Like, how smart could you be? But they have bows. They shoot the arrow and then they get out. Like you said with the plunger guys, it's like, yeah, why stick around and get your ass kicked?
Shredder's just like, I don't understand. I'm going through all of my axe guys, my sword guys and stuff, but I still have full compliments of my arrow guys. What's going on?
Well, your axe guys and your swords guys are stupid. Also, I mean, think about it. It kind of makes sense that, you know,
Um,
the other guys are getting out of the way. Also, they're robots,
so
man.
I
You
mean,
can't make them
okay,
too strong.
you made interesting point of the whole like it's abusable. Yeah, you can sit there and keep taunting, like completely fill up your special meter. There's no cooldown on it whatsoever. You know, you just keep doing it. And so you can play the game where, okay, you clear the screen with your special, and then you just sit there and do your taunt 3 times, get your special back, go to the next screen, do your special until you clear out all the enemies. And I've seen reviews and comments and stuff of people talking about how that makes the game boring and shit. And it's like, this game isn't meant to be like super tactical and super hard. And it's like, oh, you need to save your supers for the right time, or it's meant to be fun.
Yeah,
It's
go
like
fucking nuts. That's most
Yeah.
of the reason why I had fun doing that shit, because it's really fucking fun to use your special.
Yeah, if you find it boring to constantly refill your special, stop doing it. It's easy as that. Play it the way you want to play it to have fun. Stop trying to play every game as efficiently as possible.
Yeah.
Like,
I have my own problems with that, but
yeah.
I don't complain about the minutia of you playing like that, playing as, you know, like I'm not going to complain about being like, well, you know, you have to put a bunch of time. It's like, yeah, that's the point. It's like, why are you trying to be as efficient as possible? But again, this was just, I mean, it sounds like it sounds like we're going to a negative place with it, when in reality, we're just complaining about other people's opinion about it. The game in itself, fucking phenomenally fun.
Oh, yeah.
The levels, the design of all the levels, how the bosses all played out. They picked so many good old school characters from the TV show and shit, and from the comics and stuff, and they just pulled them in, threw them in, made them really interesting boss fights. Again, it's not super challenging, but that's not the point for it to be challenging. It was fun. It was really fucking fun. I had a lot of fun playing it with my friend. Actually, watching this footage, I want to go play more right now. It's like, hell yeah, I want to play. Fucking Donatello looks like a blast.
They even did the amazing thing of bringing Toka and Raza in as boss fights.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck yes. Like recognition that the movies exist in this game.
Absolutely.
Like the old school movies, man.
Right, which is the
like live action ones.
Right.
But so one huge problem, and it was a problem on release. I haven't heard much lately. Maybe they patched it. But for us, we were playing it on the Nintendo Switch, and this is definitely a Switch problem. How the Switch handles multiplayer.
Oh yeah, that sucked.
Fucking annoying as shit. Like, what the fuck are you thinking, Nintendo? Seriously? Okay, so first you got to get your friend on your friends list. So that means you have to send your friend code over to your friend to like, so that they can input it and add you to a list. Like, okay, you think that's it? Because that's it on every other fucking console. You know? No, okay, so now you have to load up the game. And then you have to load up what playstyle you want. So you have to go into either story mode or arcade mode. You can't do this from the main menu. It has to be, you already have to have the thing loaded. And then on the character select, then you can send out the invite to your friend. And then your friend has to go into their the Nintendo friend list to accept the invite and then load up the game and then within the game menu, accept the invite again to be part of the party.
Oh, it was a huge fucking pain in the ass. I thought
Like,
that was ridiculous.
what the hell, guys? The other multiplayer problem that I think was patched was that there's crossplay between the Xbox and the Steam version, like the PC version.
Right.
And for some reason, depending on who hosted, I believe, I was watching some streamers do it, and the streamer had 3 of his friends playing on Steam, and then he had one friend join through the crossplay on his Xbox. Every single time they finished the level and tried to go to the next level, the guy that was no, not kicked. He couldn't do anything. He was still part of the party. He would still load up in the level, but he couldn't move. He couldn't do attacks. He couldn't open the menu and exit the game. He couldn't do anything.
Wow.
That happened every
That's
level.
worse than getting kicked every level and just having to rejoin, which would be a huge pain in the ass. But
so every level he had to completely close the game on his Xbox, relaunch it, and then get re-invited to the group.
Jesus.
And so I think that was patched because I haven't heard anything about that since launch. It was that launch weekend that a lot of people were talking about it. And that's really like, that's one of those things that's like really fucked up when you have something that is like, oh, this is a 6-player multiplayer game, you know, which is phenomenal for a side-scrolling fighter. But if your matchmaking is fucked, that means you're ruining fun.
Well, then, too, unless everyone you know has the certain thing. I know a lot of people with Switches. I know a lot of people with all of them. I know a lot of people that only play. Well, I don't know a lot of people really, but you know what I mean? That becomes
God, I would. There is no way. Like, between us, it's fun to play it on the Switch. If we were trying to get 6 people on the Switch, no. I would rebuy it for everyone on like Steam or something. Like, fuck that. I am not messing with the fucking Switch multiplayer bullshit.
So back to the like core of the game. There's no, you're fine. No, you're totally fine. I just realized we've really been going. You know, it's like we haven't done this in a while, and we got a lot of we're catching up or something. It's crazy.
Right.
So there's really a lot of good things. I mean, there's almost no negative things I can say. Some of the more positive things, which I want to focus on, is like the price, $20. That's I've spent more on food in a day. You know what I mean? And now that goes
$20 for like a 3-hour story, but it could be upwards of that if you just like keep playing.
Right. So that's the other thing. Like a good solid 3 hours of story, which was an awesome thing. That's like, you know, buying a bottle of liquor and having going over to like a friend's house. And it's like I basically just spent 3 hours hanging out with you playing a video game for 3 hours. And that leads to the next thing, which is like now I also have that game in my library. And I really like that part of just like having that game in my library, knowing that if I just want to play for 15 minutes and I, you know, or I think it's really going to work out on like road trips where I'm not driving. So that if I just, you know, I kind of want to pay attention when I don't want to fully engross myself or do something more complicated. I could just
nothing wrong with a mindless brawler that, you know, it isn't too hard. Like it doesn't require 100% focus.
Right. With really good elements of like progression. So I can, it sounds silly, but like, you know, you could play the story mode, just level up everyone just for completionists. Just to do it, just to have progress going forward, which is something I really like in a game where if you're doing something, even, you know, like that's why I like ranking in video games so much, because you win a game and it's like, cool, I ranked up, which sounds weird. Actually, I think that's some kind of problem where I just can't play a game for the pure pleasure of playing a game. It's like I have to beat someone and then get rank. I have to beat, you know, like I have to do something in a game and then get something.
I have to get accolades comparing me to others.
Right. I must be accoladed. Accommodated.
Recognize my accomplishments.
Shit,
those big robots could eat you. I never saw that. We were beating the shit out of them.
Oh yeah, the meowsers. Monster meowsers. So it's a great price. It's awesome. I love having it in my library. I had a great time playing it with you. I mean, you have a great time playing it with friends in general. I think the style is great. Like there's so many good little goofy animations, and there's not a lot, but there's a good amount of humor kind of plugged in there, just in that kind of goofy cartoonish way where, you know, like the foot soldier steals the engine and The animations at the like level ending things are goofy, like Donatello jumps on his thing like a pogo stick and shit like that. Also, I think it's hilarious that you can share health in the game in multiplayer by high-fiving.
Oh,
but
yeah.
you also lock in the other person for a second. So we were just fucking around with each other, locking each other up, high-fiving and sharing health.
So if like one player is doing good and the other one's just getting his ass kicked, you could walk up and basically one player gives one sliver of his health to the other player. And you could just sit there, keep high five until your health equalizes, or you could keep high fiving and like give them all of your health.
Yep.
But it's like whoever initiates the high five is the one giving the health, basically.
Yes. Right. Well, it works out really well for things like whenever someone steals all the single pizzas.
I was hungry.
No, that was definitely a game where you were taking the initiative a lot, whereas normally I don't know, steal all the power-ups.
Yeah.
You definitely held your own with the power-ups.
I'm sorry, you're sitting in the corner meditating. Not my fault you didn't see the pizza.
No, I'm not complaining. I'm proud of you, man. Also, I didn't realize you could hit those rats in this.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, you don't realize it because you were meditating. You were meditating. I was fighting off rats because they kept biting me.
Yeah, I was jumping over the rats too. I just didn't realize I could jump over them and also attack. See what I'm saying? So can't say enough good things about the game. I'll give it 4 out of 4 turtles in a half shell.
Cowabunga.
Cowabunga, dude.
Yeah, I mean, just some highlights is like they did. I just want to touch on the music. The music is just fantastic. So phenomenal. Like they did a remix of that old 80s fucking title sequence, and it just hits you right in that nostalgic center if you grew up with this shit. And it's like, as soon as that hit, and when I first loaded it up, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be on this for a while. And then each level is different. Yeah, I mean, of course, every level has its own music, but every now and then you'll get actual songs that were made for the game, like not just like chiptune beaty musics, but like actual songs.
The shredder music. Oh man,
not just the shredder music. There was that level where we were on the hoverboards and going through the sky and shit. That music was awesome.
Yeah, no kidding.
And it's just a wide range. It's like power ballads, like some like classic rock style, like if you remember, I think it was the previous episode or the episode just before this, not the movie episode, like our game episodes. Right. I was talking about the limited run games thing, and I discussed the
Turtles
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Collector's Edition, and in that was like a soundtrack thing that you could get, and it's like, well, now I kind of want that, but the pre-order of that is gone.
Well, you can find it somewhere for sure.
I know. Cough, cough, torrent, cough, cough.
Yeah, you just find that fucker.
But yeah, that music was phenomenal. So I just wanted to touch on that. Like you said, like every aspect of this, they knocked it out of the park, except the multiplayer thing. But that it wasn't enough to degrade any enjoyment.
No.
That said, my game is Cuphead.
Awesome game. We did play this one together too, so I'll
be sure to. We played the base game together when it first came out. But very like last week, they came out with the DLC that has been in development for like 3 years at this point, I believe. It was like announced almost 3 years ago, and now it's finally out. And it's like was it 5 main bosses, like 6 side bosses. It's quite a massive DLC, like just a whole nother island full of stuff to do. It's pretty great. So Cuphead, it's also a side-scrolling kind of brawler. but it focuses more on boss rush. So instead of like full run and gun levels, it's like you mostly are fighting bosses, and each boss has a different theme. So you got like a sunflower boss, and he'll shoot seeds at you that you have to dodge. And as you progress through the level, he'll change stages where like the second stage, he'll start growing thorny vines on the ground. And so you have to jump on these platforms. So now you're dodging the seeds he shoots at you and dodging these thorns that keep shooting up from below you while you're still attacking him. Fucking hard game. It starts out pretty easy to kind of get you into it, but it's really, really fucking hard. And it's all about kind of pattern memorization. You know, what the bosses use will be randomized. They could choose, like, say they have like 4 different abilities. They could randomly choose any one of the 4. They could say choose one ability 4 times, or swap them up. So it's all about recognizing what ability they're about to use and reacting accordingly. And sometimes that could just get stressful in the heat of things. You forget, oh, this one I'm supposed to duck, not jump, And that's kind of where it gets hard, is when you're trying to memorize all these different patterns while still dealing damage to the boss. But it comes with that satisfaction, the same kind of satisfactions you'd get from like Dark Souls and stuff, where it's like super hard challenge. But when you beat it, you have this like, yeah, fuck you. I beat you, you bitch. You beat me 300 times, but I beat you. Fuck you.
But not this time.
Right. And then it takes it that extra step. It's like, okay, well, you beat it. Well, here's the time you beat it. So now you have to beat it in under 2 minutes. Here's how much damage you took. Next time, beat it without getting hit at all. Like there's a parry system. So every boss you have to do 3 parries. It counts how many times you use your super, and it's so like your super is it's displayed next to your health, and it charges up kind of like turtles, but in it's like it has 5 stages. It's like 5 card faces, and so you're trying to fill up these card faces, and you can use them one at a time, or when you get all 5, you can use them all at once for this ultra attack. So when you beat the boss, one of the criteria is you have to use 6 of these cards. Now, if you manage to like fill out that entire criteria, it'll grade you with a A+ ranking or an S ranking kind of thing. Be like, you've accomplished all the things you need to do with this boss. You got the perfect score, And so there's unlockable things if you beat all the bosses with the perfect score, There's some run and gun levels, not many, but there are a couple where you have to run from the left to the right to make it to the end, and you have a lot of these obstacles in between, and they're a form of change of pace, for one. So like you're just getting tired of killing bosses and stuff. It's like, okay, well, this is a nice change of pace. It's just kind of change it up a little.
Yeah, and so by running gun, I mean, like, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Because like I played it, but it's like a small like a map, like a side scroller.
Yeah. And by running gun in is you're basically running to the right and you're holding down the trigger button, so it's just like endlessly firing. So you're just running and gunning, kind of Contra style, basically.
Running and gunning, man.
So and that, if you finish those levels, you get extra coins, so you can buy other weapons and stuff. The bosses don't give you coins, but these side-scrolling levels do. So you want to do them so that you could get new weapons and change up the way you fight a boss. But here's the thing. There's like 4 or 5 of these kinds of levels. If you can get through them without killing a single enemy, you get a special ranking. It's called P for pacify. And if you do all of the levels with the pacify bonus, you unlock like black and white mode. If you beat all the bosses with the A plus ranking, you get like what was it? It's like sepia mode or something. It like changes the color scheme in a different way. So they're like kind of unlockables, not crazy unlockables like a new character or special weapon or anything. This is a good time to be like, the style of this game is like the old 1920s cartoons. So like fucking early Looney Tunes, early Mickey Mouse, fucking Chuck Jones style cartoons where you have basically a static matte painting background. And then you do like cartoon cells overlay. So the main character is kind of like a lighter or a bolder color than the background. Background is kind of like a little bit faded. So anything the character interacts with will have like a very specific color shading, and they're in the foreground. And I'm mostly talking about this to like discuss how that animation style was done because it's very important to how this game was made. Some of the times they didn't just have a static matte background. They would do like these little clay models and stuff, and they would film the model and then still put the cartoon cell over that video of the model, and it creates like a really cool 3D effect to it and stuff, which is very, very cool for 1920s style. Like this is really more of a like hey, how can you sound like an old man without telling one your age? But this style of cartoon is just so beautiful. Like, the amount of effort they put into it and everything, I just there's just something about that style that it's gone away because it was a very tedious, long, arduous process of doing it. And yes, there's better ways of doing things now, but it kind of ruins some of that style to do it in that new way. The creators of this game, they loved those old cartoons, so they wanted that style. So they literally built this entire game using that style. So they animated this entire game using the old school styles, and then they kind of like uploaded it digitally and then did some digital enhancements off of that style.
It's fucking amazing. The game itself is gorgeous.
It's amazing, but I like just doing that style of cartooning is a long, arduous process, and then trying to digitize that and work on it even more off of that fact is like, oh my god, you guys have to have so much passion for this style. Because this is another kind of like short game. It's long in the sense that, unlike Turtles, this was meant to give you an absolute challenge. You're going to be spending 4 hours on a single boss, you know?
Oh, yeah.
If you could one shot all of these bosses, it'd be about 2 hours of a game. If you're going in blind, there's no way you're going to fucking one shot any of these bosses.
No,
but
the point is like the repetition of you know, like learning them. So
yeah, just like imagining like the way these levels change, all the different stages of bosses. There's this like blimp boss that starts out, and she laughs at you, and her laughs create like a little word balloon that launch at you, and you have to dodge them. And then she'll change to the next stage where she transforms into a cloud of an ox, and then the ox tries to like charge you and stuff, and she just keeps changing and stuff. So you just have to imagine someone not just like plotted out the matte painting in the background to like kind of change with the different stages and do this beautiful transition where you wouldn't even notice that it changed like that, but to like have these different iterations of every single boss and stuff, and all the like different abilities they put out, and all of like these extra special little details and stuff. And then imagine them spending literal months drawing this shit out in a matte painting style
Yeah,
and
they love the
cells and
shit out of this
oh
game.
my god.
Yeah, it
So
shows.
oh yeah, and so this game, top notch graphics. Graphics in
Top
the sense
notch.
of that style. Yes,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like they perfectly captured that old school style. They got like a jazzy kind of soundtrack because
Oh,
I
the
mean
music
jazz.
is a bop.
Yeah, because like jazz was the style of music back then, so they had to get like a really kind of jazzy orchestra music. Um, the way everybody sounds, like uh whenever a stage begins or a boss battle begins, you have this announcer that's like stage begin and stuff, but it's that kind of like tinny, echoey sound like those old recorders used to have. The music is put through a filter to sound like how they used to record music. All the sounds and stuff kind of have this echoey effect and stuff, and it's like it's all before the modern age of sound design, and it's just like beautiful. They work really hard on capturing that essence and making it a fun, smooth gameplay experience. So you got your two main characters. You got Mugman and Cuphead. Cuphead being the
Cuphead.
titular character who's kind of the Mickey Mouse of the group. And then you got Mugman, who's his goofy side character, who's kind of like Goofy or Donald Duck. So kind of like their gameplay doesn't change whatsoever. It's just kind of like the look. When they came out with the DLC, they added a third character, and she's called Miss Chalice. And so they actually made her completely
Miss
different.
Chalice.
Yeah. She has a double jump. Instead of a parry when she jumps, she parries when she dashes forward. She has a kind of a dodge roll that makes her avoid damage. She has like her own kinds of special abilities. Like when you get the supers fully done, she has a different kind of super from everybody else. When the game stages require her to be in a plane, her plane acts differently than everybody else's, and so it's like this is a completely different kind of playstyle character. And so it's like if you've already played through the main game and stuff, you kind of now want to like go back through with her because it changes the style of gameplay. It changes how you would react to certain things. Most importantly, that parry button, because a parry is very important during the boss battle.
Oh, it's huge.
So changing what button is the parry completely rewires your brain on that boss,
Oh man, that's fucking insane. Actually, such a
because yeah, I mean you're going to be spending like 3 hours on this one boss. You're learning every single minutia detail of these bosses and stuff to where you start reacting impulsively instead of reactively. And when you change buttons around, all of a sudden you're still acting impulsively and it's getting you killed. So you have to relearn the entire fight. I mentioned earlier you could get different weapons and stuff. You have 2 weapon slots. There's like almost 10 different weapons now with the DLC. They added a couple new ones. There's a trinket slot. So you could equip a trinket to accent some of your abilities where like whenever you dash, you actually like disappear, and so you could avoid damage. Instead of dashing into an enemy, you're actually dashing through the enemy and not getting hurt. And all of that kind of like feeds into the like find what way works best for you. Because these bosses are so hard, but they all have very specific mechanics. So if you find your play style, then that's going to be the way you play it.
Right.
And then there's a fourth slot for the super. So you can get different kinds of supers. Like the first one's like a laser beam that goes all the way across the screen. The second one, it turns your character super muscular and you like spin around and does like it does a lot of damage, but it's really hard to control. I never liked that one.
Awesome.
It does like a weird way of controlling it. And then the third one is invincibility. So you can be completely immune to damage for like 2 seconds. And that one's really good, but due to its overpowered nature, the time is way too short. So it's like as soon as you activate it, it's already like coming off, and you might avoid one attack. And it's like if you're just avoiding one attack, you might as well just get the dash where you can dash through it,
Right. That makes more sense. But again, that comes with, like experience with the game.
Yeah. So here's the thing though. To play as Miss Chalice, the DLC gives you a trinket. It's like a little cookie. So you have to equip the cookie. So instead of like say getting the dash where you can dash through attacks without damage, you have to have this cookie equipped to play the new character. But the new character comes with all these like crazy overpowered abilities. So it's like
of course
it's kind of equal.
Yeah.
So
right. That's how they kind of they overloaded it, but they also said, well, then you don't get any items.
So that's all kind of set up at this point. The main game is like $20. The DLC is $7. I had a more than my money's worth of $7 for DLC because it took me all week to finish it. That last boss, let's just say my niece learns some new curse words.
So that's awesome.
But yeah, it's crazy. Like these developers are fucking crazy for how much time they spent creating this DLC. Like it took 3 years, the meticulous like hand-drawn animations and all of that shit, and to only sell it for $7. It's like, what are you guys doing? You're not gonna make any profit. But I love you guys because like this is perfect.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. It's like that's how DLC used to work.
So the other thing is, base game comes out. They basically programmed all the bosses and events and stuff based on how they felt it should play like, I mean, there's a general amount of play testing and shit, yeah. But it's like, they didn't know how audiences would accept it. So they didn't want to be too harsh, but they did want to make it a difficult game. And when you're first playing through it, it's kind of a bastard, and it's like, why did you guys like send me to hell? But once you're comfortable with all the bosses and stuff, it's like, okay, there's like these very specific windows on every boss where you can avoid all damage if you just know where to stand.
Right.
The new game or the DLC, now that they know how the audience would react to their style, they're now like, hey, let's throw all this bumfuckery at you.
Right. They caught on.
The early bosses are that kind of same easiness, but then you get into some of the really fucked up bosses. And there is this one boss, it's a secret boss. So you have to buy a new trinket, and it's called the Broken Relic. You have to have that equipped, and then you have to solve this puzzle in the overworld. When you solve that puzzle, it opens up this boss fight, and it's basically a boss fight of like, it's not the devil, but it's like it's devil-like.
Right.
The boss fight is 2 enemies. Whoever you're looking at is the devil, and who you're not looking at is an angel. Only the devil's abilities can hurt you. So, like, if you are facing to the right, then the right guy's the devil and he's throwing fireballs at you. Well, the left guy is still throwing fireballs at you, but they're like outlined. They're not like filled in. So it's like, okay, those ones can't hurt you. But if you accidentally turn to the left and you're standing on one of those outlines, it immediately turns into a fireball and hurts you.
Oh, fuck, that's cool.
So it's all about
awesome
like,
mechanic.
yeah, it's like you have to keep track of the ones that aren't going to hurt you as well as the ones that you're trying to avoid. Because at any second, you could like jump and accidentally like face left and that triggers them.
Well, because you're going to face right or left because you're going to move yourself in the air to position yourself. That's just how it goes. You're not just going to jump up and then only, yeah. That's fucking great.
The other aspect is in the middle of this arena is a platform. Now you could jump on the platform, but it kind of like does this circular serpentine kind of motion through the arena. And if you're on top of the platform, you're not taking damage, but you're kind of like moving around, so it's kind of hard to dodge fireballs and shit like that.
Right.
Underneath the platform, it connects to the rest of the arena with a lightning bolt. So you can't like ignore this platform or else the lightning bolt is going to hit you. So it's just like you're dodging the shit coming at your face. You're dodging the shit that's coming at your back, and you're dodging the shit that's right up your ass. It's just
ridiculous.
It's mental. It gets to you. Really well crafted boss fights. And each one is like that, where it's just like there's just so much shit you have to keep track of that it forces you to play it until you get to that point of okay, I know exactly how to beat you and stuff. Now, all of that leads into the final boss, and he's a fucking bastard. He's the reason why it took me all week to beat it, because I was stuck on him all weekend long, and like I finally beat him today after like 100 more tries.
Jesus.
Try to find the video so you can understand. Okay, so the last boss, and spoilers if you guys care or not, it is basically in the trailers and shit. The chef that is sending you out on all this missions to like gets you're trying to get ingredients and stuff for him to cook a special cookie so that Miss Chalice, instead of being a trinket that you have to equip, she gets to have her own body again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you finally collect all those ingredients, he tries to kill you instead.
Of course, that son of a bitch.
So the boss fight is like you're on his cutting board and he's like messing with different ingredients, and each ingredient is a different obstacle you have to avoid while you're shooting at him. So he cuts up lemons, and all of a sudden these lemons like fly in from the side, so you have to jump over them or dodge under them. He squeezes strawberries and they start raining from the sky, so you have to avoid them. And he does like
dough.
Yeah, he does. He cuts up some sugar cookies, and they come in as animals, and they jump across the screen. So you have to destroy them. All of these happen. They can overlap each other, so you can still be jumping over these lemons while these animal cookies are coming at you and stuff. That said, at the exact same time, there's always this little fireball that is jumping and trying to like hit you. So you can't stand in the same place or anything. This fireball, it'll just like, it aims for you and it jumps. So you have to dodge it. Then it changes phases.
I can see that little fireball. Yeah.
Yeah. There's fireball is still there. The phase changes and there's these pepper shakers that appear in every corner. And so you have to, the pepper shakers will like randomly shoot stuff at you that you have to dodge. You have to kill the pepper shakers to launch them into his face. And then at the same time, you still have to dodge the fireball, and the boss is throwing like these mint leaves down on you. So they come down in patterns of like 3 and 4, and they fall from the top to the bottom of the screen. So it becomes a nightmare of positioning.
No kidding.
The third phase The third phase is a whole sea of salt because he's a salt shaker,
Yeah.
and he basically creates this like figure out of salt that kind of like it's like dancing, so it's like spinning in a circle, and it jumps around and you have to hit it. And it's kind of a bastard, but at the bottom of the screen is like this little saw blade, and it will go back and forth across the bottom of the screen.
Did you pause it?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
How many times that shit, when it transitioned from the second phase to the third phase, it would spawn me on top of the saw blade.
Oh no.
So I'd instantly lose a point. And when you're like you're trying to dodge all the shit previously, there's just points where you're going to get hit and stuff. And so it's like, okay, I'm near the last stage. I have 1 health point, and then it spawns you on the saw blade. Like, oh, fuck you,
Yeah, that's
but it's randomized where that saw blade is. So it's just that just happened. It's just RNG.
Unlucky.
There's on a lot of the bosses, usually when they transition phases,
that poor sugar.
The stuff that's happening on screen typically like goes away,
Right.
But in this boss fight, when it transitions from phase 1 to phase 2, while he's doing the animation of transitioning, if there's anything on the screen, you could still get hit by it.
Oh no.
Right?
That's brutal. They don't pull their punches at all for that guy.
Yeah.
Even just his face.
There's a 4th phase, but that phase is easy. You just have to get through the gauntlet of the first 3 phases. Oh, it's just it took me
phases, that's it.
Yeah, it took me forever to get through the first phase without getting hit. And then learning the second phase and how best to approach that. And then those 2 phases combined were most of my deaths. Like I found a way to zone in and get through the first phase without getting hit. But then the second phase is just so much RNG and stuff. The wrong direction of jumping would just start killing me.
That and I know exactly how you work, and that frustration from bad RNG would make you lose so much focus, and then you just get kind of, I mean, it's nothing against you. I also have, I get that point too.
All of these bosses are wonderfully crafted. Like even in the base game, there were like different stages to bosses, but in the DLC, they did it to where there are significant changes between the stages of a boss fight. So it's no longer just, the boss added a new aspect to what they're throwing at you. It's now like the arena completely changes and the boss changes his complete style. So in that sense, there was like a lot more extra learning on top of the game.
I mean, because every boss is more than one boss.
I will say, one thing I don't like. Okay, so one thing that I really liked was when you launched the game, the base game, it had like a little Cuphead song to it, and is in the style of like those old Looney Tunes and shit. So it's like is very jazzy and kind of like pumped you up. It is like, oh man, this is a Cuphead adventure, They came out the DLC, and so now when you load it up, the screen also has Miss Chalice with you, and they changed the song, and it's now kind of like this slow, like loving song. It's not terrible, but it's like I really like the like pumpy action stuff, kind of like something that kind of fuels my adrenaline, not something that it's like it's good, but it's not indicative of the game that is about to fuck me.
Why are you so happy about this game?
Right? Why am I so happy about Dark Souls and shit? It's like those games are fucking hard, but they're just so fun to beat. And it's never a sense of the game itself cheating you. It's just you didn't understand the mechanic or you made a misstep. And so it's like, I can accomplish this. I know everything I need to accomplish this, So it kind of like it drives your sense of like wanting to achieve. So So yeah, I mean the game itself, phenomenal. Like shit, it's 5 out of 5 stars, A+ rating. It gets all the Pokemon cards, it's master trainer, all of the things, it's grand
best.
wizard status of video games. Like if you like a challenge, if you like side scrolling games, if you like these old cartoons, like this game is the perfect embodiment of all of that. So that's my rating on the game. But how can I do a Cuphead episode without mentioning the Netflix series?
Right.
No, I'm asking you, how can I do a Cuphead episode without mentioning the Netflix?
I mean, I think you just did.
So, shortly after the success of the Cuphead game, they announced that Netflix picked him up for a series, a cartoon series, and it's like these short, like 10 to 15-minute episodes featuring Cuphead and his brother Mugman within this world, and it's like awesome. So we're gonna get this old school style of cartoon alongside the game. Now, the I just want to say there's certain liberties that have to be done because you're trying to make a kid's cartoon, but you're trying to do it in that old 1920s, 30s style. Problem is censorship laws have now come out.
Mm-hmm.
In the game, it's okay because the game is like rated teen and up. So the frogs that own a casino can smoke cigars, But if you're doing a cartoon aimed at children, they can no longer smoke cigars and they now own a restaurant. So first off, there's those little things. And if you've grown up with those old cartoons, that's like one of those noticeable differences. It's like it looks like a pale imitation of those old cartoons when you do that shit because, it's not that style. That style had those aspects in it. And it's like a little thing to kind of bitch and moan about. But at the same time, it's like, if you want to talk about doing a nostalgic cartoon, you have to do a nostalgic cartoon. Bugs Bunny used to smoke cigars before, eating carrots.
No, I agree with you. You should just dig into it and say, you know what, it was. I mean, obviously, don't do the worst parts of it, but do the things that are PC. That doesn't have to be like rampant racism.
So, but I mean, it's also like things that are excusable if the other stuff wasn't so non-committed to that style. So the art team, the creators of the game, they drew all of the characters. They came up with all of the art style and stuff. They were executive producers for the Netflix cartoon series, but they were not the animators. The animators took those designs of those characters and did a different version. Like, this is not that style. This is not that 1920s style cartoon. This is a modern, like, SpongeBob, Ren and Stimpy era cartoon. And there's certain aspects. There's facial expressions. There's how characters react to a situation, like there's this episode I'm showing Travis right now. Mugman breaks the handle of off the cup of his head, and so Cuphead is trying to fix it for him. So one of the things is he gets scotch tape and like wraps it around Mugman's head to keep the handle in place, and that tape kind of like pushes the nose up so it like shows you the nostrils and stuff. That's not something that would appear in those 1930s cartoons. That is something that started happening closer to like the 80s, 90s.
Right.
There's an episode where Cuphead and Mugman are having a nice peaceful morning. Their grandpa, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to the store. You kids don't fight now." and then he leaves the house, and they immediately start fighting. And then at one point they stop and they're like, "Why are we fighting?" It's like, "Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's because he said we shouldn't," and so they keep fighting. And they destroy the house. One of the things before their grandpa leaves, he said, "Make sure you don't touch my vintage radio because that is my prized possession."
They touch his vintage radio.
That all setup is a 1930s style setup. Like the whole fighting, the joke about them fighting, him leaving, the whole emphasis on that radio. That's fine. That's what you would want. They of course trash the house. They end up trashing the radio, and they get into like wacky hijinks to try to like fix everything, and of course they don't. I think there's something like they find a baby in the woods, and the baby ends up being like a minion of the devil, because it still has the whole aspect of the main game where the boys scam the devil, and so the devil's trying to steal their souls. So this baby like forces trashing the house and trashes the prize radio and stuff. And so the boys like leave to chase after the baby, and that's when their grandpa comes home. And immediately when he walks in the door, he's like, "Those boys trashed the house. Oh well." And then he keeps walking on, and then he sees this radio. It's like, "I'm gonna tear them a new one for trashing my radio." And like, I can't remember how the show wraps up because it's a terrible episode. But it's like, you guys had the setup right, but then when you get to the punchline, you screw up the punchline so badly, because that is a modern era style wrap up. That is not what the 30s would be. The 30s would be, he would walk in, he wouldn't notice any of the damage. He'd just keep walking in, he'd probably put the groceries down or something. He'd come back out, and he'd like try to turn the dial on the radio, and the radio is obviously busted, but he grabs the dial, starts turning it and stuff, and all it's doing is like spitting out springs. And that's when he like opens his eyes and looks around. He's like, "Them boys destroyed the house," kind of thing.
Right.
And it's like, it's a simple wrap up. It's like, oh, well, that's just cliche. It's like, yeah, it's cliche because they did it all the time in the fucking 1930s. That's the style of cartoon that I was expecting of watching, is that style, that like all of it, the punchline, the setup, all of that is what I was expecting this cartoon to be. And you guys ruined it, basically.
Fucking ruined it.
It's like, I'm not here to watch a modern cartoon. I am attached to these characters in this setting because it's the old school style. I was expecting to see that, not all this. Like right now, the cartoon, going back to the episode where they're trying to fix Mugman's handle, and they're just like showing all these different aspects, and it's like, none of that would be part of that 1930s style. They would continue to try to like, they'd probably use like tar or something to try to glue it on, and for some reason the tar like sticks to Cuphead's hand, and so now they have a problem of like Cuphead being stuck to Mugman's head, and it would go on like that, instead of like, "Oh well, what if we put a rattlesnake on your head? What if we put a toilet drain on your head?" That's a modern era style of cartoon.
Right.
And that really turned me off of the entire series. But and it's so frustrating because they got the character designs are wonderful in that old style. The environment designs, even though they don't do that old school technique like the guys did for the game, it still looks really good. They could have had it pass if it wasn't for the writing and the story directions, like, and the facial animations, it's stuff like that. It's like, all the skeleton is in the right place, but the people they chose to put the meat on didn't know what the hell they were doing, or they didn't understand the homework that was assigned, is a better and then that frustrates me, because then you look at like you go to the Metacritic, you go to the like reviews and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, it's just like those old style cartoons and stuff." It's like, it's not though. it's I don't know what cartoons you guys were watching. Like, do you think like SpongeBob is in this style or something? Because this is what the show is. um, and yeah, I mean, I'm harping on that point because it got great ratings. It's getting a season 2. Metacritic is it's like a 74% on Metacritic. Um, and I hate it. I love the game to death, but what they did with this cartoon is so uh, counter to what the reason why that game is doing so good.
Right, like you said, they really didn't understand the homework, and it really does suck that it's just like one more crappy like video game to media type of situation.
Yeah. That the music for the Cuphead, the intro music, instead of like the theme song that the game already had, that was this nice, like jazzy theme, they came out with this very modern theme. And it's another aspect of them not understanding uh the homework, you know. Um I can't share it with you now. I'll share it with you after we finish recording the differences, but it's just like, oh my god, like the opening of this show is just it immediately turns you off because it's like, this isn't what I was looking for at all. um yeah, I'll stop talking about it. It's one of those things. I planned this out from the beginning. Like when we first started this, it's like, I do want to talk about Cuphead. I know that the DLC was coming out, so I was holding off until the DLC came out. And if I was going to talk about Cuphead, I wanted to rant about the cartoon show on Netflix. And so,
of course,
there we go.
No,
oh shit! I just again this. Okay, so one last thing, I just remembered it because this is about the game, the main game itself. There is no online co-op on any version, and that is a huge shame. This is a 2-player game, but it's forced couch co-op. And normally it's like we have to request couch co-op. It's like everything is forced online co-op, but in this situation, they went the opposite direction. It's like, you know, I want to play this game with Travis, but when we played the base game together, we were both living in Tulsa, so you came to my house. We played it on the Xbox. Now we're in 2 different cities. We can't play it. The only way is by rigging the system. Basically, the easiest of it being is rebuying the game on Steam, and then it's called like Steam Share Play, which is basically I host the game and then I stream it to Travis, and then Travis basically his inputs are streamed back to my game so that it can register him playing.
Yeah. No thanks. Not a game like that.
Yeah. It is so asinine. It's like, guys, just come out with online co-op. Like that is a serious aspect that they have failed on. It is not at this point, at this juncture, how many years it's been out and how many years they've worked on the DLC. They should have had an aspect of couch co-op or online co-op.
Right. So, but again, they did everything else so well.
That said, I mentioned it in the pre-show. Check that out if you want it. But I just watched the first episode of Arcane finally.
Yeah.
They not only understood the homework, they're like that the teacher's pet student. They went above and beyond with that one. So watch that over this. And this weekend, Netflix has a Resident Evil series coming out. So it's actually like, even though they already had a recent Resident Evil movie, now there's going to be a Netflix series, and it's going to be set in a post-apocalyptic future where the zombies are all over everywhere. So it's not going to follow like Claire, Leon, Jill, or Chris.
Oh.
So I'm interested in seeing what they do with that, but compared to everything else Resident Evil, I'm not hopeful. Thank you everyone for listening. You can catch us on Twitter at toomanygames2. We have a Patreon. If you wish to subscribe to that, then get access to all of our extended episodes, as we cut this down to an hour and we put the extended stuff online. Please comment on our Twitter, send us feedback. You can also send us feedback at your mama's house. Forgot where I was going with that.
Yeah.
I think
email us.
We're email. Is it toomanygamespodcast@gmail.com. You could send us something like questions, concerns, a bag of poop.
That would be difficult, but I'd be so proud if someone sent poop to the internet.
Right. We're available on pretty much all streaming platforms: Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Store. I think Apple is the only one that allows like ratings and comments. So if you listen to us on Apple iTunes, please give us like a 5-star rating and comment like 5 stars, but you all suck, you know.
Also remember to check out that new video that Chuck just posted with his sister.
Yeah. So me and my sister, we're doing kind of movie reviews under the title of Video Booze. Right now, it's kind of like it's being lumped in with our Too Many Games stuff. So we're going to focus on video game movies. But the more we kind of get used to that as well, we're working on branching that off into its own thing. So I'll have 2 podcasts running. You know, this will be Too Many Games, and then we'll have Video Booze, where once we break off, we'll like explore other movies and stuff. It's just while it's being tied in with this, it's going to be video game movies and related.
Right. But in the meantime, check it out.
Yeah, we're excited. We did Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. And coming up next, we're working on Prince of Persia. So check that out. Get ready for that. Right now, it's pretty irregular due to timing constraints and stuff. So I'll try to get it to where we're doing one of those movies a month. So this will be like 3 Too Many Games podcasts a month and then 1 movie review a month kind of thing for now.
Right.
See how that works out. Even we haven't been getting much feedback through social medias or anything, but I have been talking to a lot of friends who listen, and they've been, you know, they kind of give feedback on stuff. One of my friends mentioned you brought it up on like our 2nd episode or something, but she's like, you know, I saw like the Fallout New Vegas, and I love New Vegas. That I go there and you guys take forever to get to New Vegas and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, that's the format I came up with. I created this format to be like at the beginning to talk about any game related news or anything that's grinding my gears, or, you know, just something tangible, a video game conversation, a general conversation on the state of gaming or whatever happens, you know. And then beyond that, it's like the book club style friend conversations on these games. These so, you know, we'll have the segment of Fallout New Vegas, but then we'll have a segment of I can't remember what I reviewed alongside that, but and the idea is, yes, you want to hear your favorite game. You're like, okay, this guy's talking about Fallout New Vegas. Let's see what he has to say about New Vegas. The idea being, you're not just going to skip ahead to the New Vegas part and only listen to that part. The idea is you listen to the whole episode, be like, okay, you know, I listened to what he said about New Vegas, but what is this other game? And then maybe what I or Travis say about that other game will interest you into trying that game. Be like, expand your library in a sense. Or if you miss out on a game, be like, oh, what am I missing on this game?
Yeah.
So the idea is I'm glad you're clicking on us to listen to a specific game that you enjoy, but please listen to the whole thing and, just kind of like maybe enjoy gaming talk. I don't know how better to explain that, but yeah. So I'm not against certain format changes, but at the same time, it's like, I don't want to just talk about New Vegas for an hour. I want to be able to have kind of like a duality so that, people
you just
can
chill out and listen to the whole thing.
Yeah. People can like hear something that they wouldn't normally hear and be like, oh, well, maybe I'll try that game out now. Kind of like Synthetic, how many people have played Synthetic, but how many are now going to play Synthetic,
2 more.
And they were also kind of wanting you to go more in depth on New Vegas. It's like he barely touched any of the stuff. It's like, look, this is an hour podcast. We got 3 sections. If we push it, I could narrow that down to 2. I still want to have 2 games and stuff. We don't have enough time to delve into every little system and mechanic of a 30+ hour game.
Man, I try to. I just jump in there and just go berserk and start going crazy talking
Like,
about anything that comes to mind.
Number one, you got to hit the highlights, the stuff that interests you in the game, because maybe what interests you will interest someone else.
Right.
Number 2, this is a very loose form. We're not doing like very like, we're not doing written reviews. We're not, a news reporter or anything. This is a friendly conversation. This is like
off the cuff.
You're going to your buddy and being like, hey man, I just played this awesome game this weekend. It's all about this shit,
Yeah, check this crazy shit out.
You're trying to get your friends into these games, but just kind of like riffing on it a bit.
At the riff, baby.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I'm going more into this. I want to say I do appreciate feedback, and if I feel like the request for a format change makes sense, I'm not against it. But I urge you to listen to the whole episode instead of just trying to pick out bits and pieces. Is that a good way of saying it? I don't know.
Hey, no, you nailed it, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, whatever's clever, watch this, listen to the show, get it whatever you can from it. Normally, I think we do a pretty good job. I wouldn't be upset with anyone if they ever pick and choose anything. Just, I mean, it just sucks whenever we don't talk enough about content someone likes. Because I'd like to. I want to do whatever makes people interested, whatever's entertaining.
I would love to like talk more about like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, go like way more in depth. And I talked about that for well over an hour, but it's like I had so much more to say, and it's like I kind of got to wrap it up and kind of hit the highlights here.
Right.
So,
and eventually, yeah.
Like, I mean, the movie review that me and my sister did, that went on for 3.5 hours. I'm not trying to do that with this gaming setup, okay? That almost killed us. That wasn't supposed to go on that long, and by the end of it, we were both really sore from talking.
I could imagine. That's a lot of talking, man.
And that's why that uploaded really late on Sunday. It took me that much longer to get it all edited and prepare.
I was wondering about that, but that makes sense. So. Anyways, yeah, no, it was, check us out. Thanks for listening.
Yep. Thanks for listening. Have a good night.
Bye.